We have a special guest now. Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio served 3 consecutive terms. He's the outgoing senator. I want to show you something we have here. I mentioned this on air a couple of days ago, and Senator, you might as well be able to talk about what we say about you, right? That's only fair. This was a positive point that it was interesting to see that you ran ahead of the Democratic nominee in your state by several points. Many people have said Ohio has turned more conservative, more Republican in various ways. So I don't know if you know, a lot of people say stuff about you as a politician. We were having a discussion about how your economic positions, your defense of labor, of working people, health care, a lot of that may have helped you in Ohio, even as the winds may have turned. So first, I open the floor to you. Any thoughts on that and the Democrats and what the party should be doing?
Yeah, Democrats need to talk to workers better than we do. Not look down on workers, talk to them, go to union halls, walk picket lines, help in organizing drives. I mean, I talk always about the dignity of work, whether you swipe a badge or punch a clock or work for tips or care for an aging parent or raising children. What we have in common, put everything else aside, what we have in common in this country is pretty much everybody, unless you clip coupons and you're the very rich, everybody works. And that's what binds us. If we focus on the dignity of work, we'll win elections and we'll govern better in terms of pensions, in terms of wages and health care, in terms of combating inflation and these companies that fleece their workers and fleece consumers.
Do you think then, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but do you think then that part of the Democratic Party that has been associated either with selling out too much or being too cozy with Wall Street interests, with bankers, with elites, whatever you want to call it, and this sort of so-called elitism, which, you know, we could do 2 hours on debating that. Do you think that stuff might have been a drag and hurt the Democratic Party's brand in Ohio? Did it hurt you?
Of course it did. I don't see politics particularly as left or right. I see it as whose side are you on. And since NAFTA, and I still hear about NAFTA in the Mahoning Valley or in Dayton or wherever, since NAFTA, workers have drifted away from Democrats because we aren't fighting for them. We're not seen to be on their side. And as I said, I don't think politics is left or right. I don't think governing's left or right. It means standing up for workers and families, standing up to the drug companies, standing up to the oil industry, standing up to those companies that outsource jobs. That's why I ran 8 points ahead of the national ticket. Because I make that contrast of whose side are you on, and a lot of Ohioans, unfortunately, not quite enough this year, because of the national brand, if you will. But a lot of Ohioans understand that. I think that's the case from Maine to California.
Anything you noticed that's been different over? I mentioned your many terms, your public service. A lot of our viewers know you. Anything that's changed a lot over the years in terms of how you found voters and your constituents learn about politics, misinformation, accurate information, grassroots information? What did you find out there this cycle?
Yeah, all the above. I saw this year more excitement than I've seen on the ground than any year I've run. I'll start with that. But it's clear that just money has become so dominant. The money against me was 22 times what I spent when I beat Mike DeWine, who was an incumbent senator in 2006. More than 20 times the amount of money spent. When they spend that kind of money, I'm not whining here. I understand that when I got in the race again. When they spend that kind of money and they lie about things, it's pretty darn hard to win, and that's why we've got to do better talking to workers. If we talk to workers better, we'll have a lot more grassroots support to go up against these moneyed interests, and that's how we should govern. That's how we're going to win.
Senator, you know how I knew you weren't whining? Your voice is a little too gravelly to ever sound like you're whining.
Yeah, I don't smoke. I never did. I just talk this way. So,
hey,
oh well.
Hey, no, it has it just doesn't sound whiny. It's just at a level of sonic analysis.
Nobody's ever said that.
Let me play something for you from one of your colleagues. The incoming president, as we've been covering, won the race, and he will try to put in his ideas and people. But some of them might not be constitutional, and then you deal with that. And here's Senator Rand Paul, your Republican colleague, warning against potential misuse of the military. Take a listen.
I'm not in favor of sending the Army in uniforms into our cities to collect people. I think it's a terrible image, and that's not what we use our military for. We never have, and it's actually been illegal for over 100 years to bring the Army into our cities. I will not support an emergency to put the Army into our cities. I think that's a huge mistake.
Do you share that opposition, and what do you say to your party, the Democrats, about where to push back on things from President-elect Trump versus other things where you try to work together?
I never thought I'd say this. I agree with the guy whose last name is Paul. But I think back 20 years ago, I agreed with the guy whose last name is Paul, Rand Paul's dad, Ron, who stood with me as we fought against the Iraq War. I mean, eventually we see what happens. I think that, again, it goes back. I'm not going to give advice tactically on which of these nominees they stand up to and fight the most and how they do it. I do come back to my long-term vision and long-term goal is to how to make the Democrats the workers' party as it was when I was a kid. Because we'll win elections if we do. We'll talk to people in their pocketbooks. It's limiting prescription drug prices. It's saving pensions. It's buying America whenever there are U.S. tax dollars for bridges or buying flags or whatever the things we do. It's all pretty simple. You love this country, you fight for the people who make it work. We stay on that message. 2026, 2028 will be good years for Democrats. More importantly, it'll be good for the country, without a doubt.